greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number one.
Welcome to Fins TV. I hope it's Sammy, aka Fins Post on X. That's why my co-host Steve Hanna. Steve, welcome to the season finale of Fins TV.
Season finale, Sammy. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. I'll probably say it to the rest of our guests when we have them on, or our co-host members, whatever, of Fins TV. And Happy New Year to everybody tuning in to us. Kosa, we already see you on, man. Always happy to see you. Really, really wish this wasn't the season finale of Fins TV for what is the end of 2024 Miami Dolphins season, but I don't know if I really wish it, Sammy. I mean, after seeing that performance, how we came out there, and frankly, I'd say we started well, but we didn't even play at all. You know, we talked before about putting together strong games, strong quarters, and everything. It's definitely time to stick a fork in the season and move on to the off season to figure out what we're going to be able to do to salvage 2025.
Absolutely. The start of Dolphins Armageddon, as I used to call it, the season was over. Started this with Tyreek Hill. He's out of here. He says he's go fishing. He says he basically said he wants it out of here. We'll try to talk about, a bit about that, and also we're going to talk about, we're going to do a little bit of talk about the Dolphins' underwhelming 2024 season. Mike McDaniel and Grier had the press conference yesterday when I talked about that. And also, this is the season finale, so of course, we have to do some Fins TV Rewind. We're going to talk about the best segments of the year for Fins TV. We had a lot of fun with Fins TV, but we want to share some of the best moments with Dolphins friends all over the
I love seeing you all the time, Sammy, but I'm not going to lie. Your recap from the end of last year was definitely one of my favorite moments of last season. I'm really looking forward to it this season. So.
Who let the dogs out, Steve? There's no highlights this week. There's no highlights. There's no. I can tell you that there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to show you that will be complementary to what actually happened that Sunday. The Dolphins started very well. The Dolphins found a way to go down to the end zone twice, but found a way only to get a field goal. It was really disappointing. If the Dolphins probably had a touchdown one of the two first sequences, maybe the game is another story. But who knows? By the end of the game, Tyreek Hill said, "I'm out of here." Took himself out of the game. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk more about that during the Go Fishing segment. But it was a disappointing game for a disappointing season. But I want to know your thoughts about last Sunday's game. We're going to be very brief about this because there's not a lot to talk about. It was really disappointing.
Sorry, there's a lot to talk about, but it's not positive. I mean, it's 2 games this season. We made Aaron Rodgers look like an all-pro. And I mean, I can't even say that he looked like an all-pro. He didn't look that great, but we still managed to, again, let him run up and down the field on us. We didn't have an answer. We hit him. We put a little bit of pressure on him, clearly not enough. But this was the cream, I guess the cherry on top for what really is ultimately an underwhelming season. It was great to see him finally get some opportunities, with actual holes being opened up from the offensive line. So yes. That was positive. Trying to think of some other positives. Let me just kind of look through our stat line. Jordan Poyer, can't believe he finally showed up. Javon Holland, I think, eclipsed 7 tackles. I will say this. The usual suspects of what we saw this season for doing extremely well on defense, Zach Sealer, Jordan Brooks, again, they showed up. Terrell Dodson, interception leader. Who had him as the Miami Dolphins interception leader starting the season?
We have a season.
Yeah. So it's yeah, Sammy, just really, really underwhelming. And I'd like to say that things have been like I said, it's a relief that this season is over given how it's transpired and how it's ended up. But ever since then, with the exception of what I think is probably like Calais Campbell and Teron Armstead with their moments on the mic, I really haven't watched much. But it's led to even more disappointment based off of that 3-minute clip that was posted up on social media of Tyreek Hill and his emotional rant, temper tantrum, and then Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel on the mic. I I know we're gonna have some conversation about that, so I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Absolutely. Without further ado, let's welcome the Fancy Guru of friend of the show, Jason Sarney, the hardest working man in Office Nation, as I like to call him, and Mr. Perfect Man, and Sherry Hallett will be joining us in a couple of minutes. So no worries, Sherry, we'll be holding the fort for you, with you, so probably some, emergency work around the fort. I'm gonna start with Jason. Jason, were you at the game last Sunday?
Unfortunately, I was.
So of course, that's the good part of the experience of that game. When you see the Dolphins fans in force showing up to New York, you can feel them, you can hear them do the first half of the season. It was it was pretty impressive considering that most of the Jets fans apparently didn't show up to the game, but still, Dolphins fans are always passionate, no matter what. They should be commended for making the trip to New York. They meant like the cover, as they call them. But I want to start with you, Matt. I'm going to start with Jason because he was there. What are your thoughts about the game and the experience of the whole game last Sunday at Memphis
Well,
Stadium?
you said it. It's the traveling fans, the community that does such a good job of showing up, especially to the MetLife Takeover. Shout out to Dolphins NYC. It's always a fun time in that back of the parking lot, really with the flags hanging and just so many people congregating, saying things up to each other despite the situation. But for a good 12 minutes, there was some hope. And then looking at the scoreboard, you see Denver and KC, and the wheels kind of fell off. But it was nice to see some great people, but it was not nice to see sort of a giving up. The air was definitely taken out once there was a 3 possession lead for the Broncos, and that game was out of hand.
Mm.
And then, of course,
And
as you mentioned,
that happened pretty quick.
yeah, that happened pretty quick. It happened pretty quick. But, you see a Devon Achane break a run. They don't score a touchdown on that particular play series, unfortunately. So same old Dolphins type of stuff. But, as Steve referenced, a guy like a Zach Sealer, Jordan Brooks, Calais Campbell, these are the silver linings. John Smith, big time silver lining. He got into the end zone. But unfortunately, it was too little too late and a disappointment of a year.
Absolutely, Sherry. Well, I, I've seen a lot of this. The phrase I use a lot on the internet, a lot on X on this week of how craziness is continue to do the same thing all over and expecting a different result. Basically, that's the tone of the whole game, that the whole season, probably the tone of the whole show. But I want to know your thoughts about last game of the season. The Dolphins, of course, the game was out of hand in Denver, but still the Dolphins a disappointment nonetheless.
I don't care if the game was out of hand in Denver. If you're a professional team getting
Hmm.
paid to play, can't speak, you play until there's zeros on the clock at the end of the game. You don't take yourself out a la Randy Moss. You don't give up. You don't play half speed. That's how people get seriously injured. It was so disappointing. It was so sad to watch them just basically stop. And that's unacceptable because they are paid to put out a product. I understand that that product is football, but people pay to see that product. People are invested. I'm invested. I would have liked to see 100% effort until the game was over. We don't leave games. When my husband and I go to games, until there are zeros on the clock in the fourth quarter, we don't leave. So why do they get to stop playing? They don't. They shouldn't. So I was not loving that. It was the last game. It made me sad because I hate knowing there's not another game for a super long time. So to go out that way, even though Denver was winning handily, I would have liked to see us fight until the last second because I just think that's what people with integrity do.
Absolutely, Matt. We know for being the positive guy you are, but even for I'm pretty sure that even for a positive guy like you, that must have been a pretty good big disappointment. What are your thoughts about the game made last night on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm going to put a positive spin on it. The worst case scenario is that the Dolphins could have been within a few points of the lead, and the Broncos and the Chiefs could have been duking it out in overtime. We would have all been sitting on the edge of our seat with hope. Uh, that's the positive of this. The reality is, I watched an exhibition game on Sunday. Um, Thank you, Denver. Thank you for allowing me to just, well, okay, that's the way this is going to go. That's the way this is going to end. There's no doubt that it was phoned in once it was obvious that the Broncos were going to put away the Chiefs. Not the way, not the way any of us would have wanted it to go, but the options would have been to beat Arizona when you had a lead in the fourth quarter, and you're not in that position. So um, I can spin some positivity out of it. I think probably the most positive thing that I can say is thank God that's over.
Absolutely, Steve. The game was out of hand in Denver so quickly. You have to wonder what would have happened if the game was tied going to the halftime or something like that. But still, like Sherry said, you have to be professional. The expectation should be for every single guy on the team to play as hard as Calais Campbell playing the game. Teron Armstrong, probably they're both having the last game of their career. At least that should be motivation enough to play for those guys who were probably playing the last game of their career. Just like the Jets apparently could have been playing for the last game of Aaron Carrer's career. So for me, it was a huge disappointment. Steve.
Oh, enormous disappointment. We saw more fight out of a team that really should have been tanking in 2019 season than we did yesterday. And you're right. I feel sincerely, I feel bad because players like Calais Campbell, players like Zach Sealer, they I'm naming a couple people, and I know there's a lot more of them out there that put their heart and soul into this. So I maybe I'll stop naming names, but there were a lot of players who have put that work in, put the dedication in. They go out there and they grind. They didn't scoreboard watch and then just decide to dial it back. They went out there and they did what they really needed to do to be the professional that Sherry's talking about. I was looking up some stats because I'd read some different things, and every game is going to be different. But if you look on average in a 3-hour, 15-minute, 3.5-hour football game, something like that, you're going to get 18 minutes of actual live football action per game. Take out defense, take out special teams. What's the offense on the field for? Maybe, I don't know, 6 minutes on average per game or something like that. And you're telling me that the person who was the league's team player voted number one player in the NFL last season. I remember that video vividly of him sitting in there in the studio, getting the award, calling his mom, celebrating how the players in the league had voted him as the number one player in the league. Now, what, $32 million that he's cashed this year for his contract? And you can't put in the effort. You're going to take your toys and go home? I can't understand that. The further disappointing stuff from this, the play calling just persists. I don't care what excuse you have. I don't ever want to see another fake to the left, pitch it back 3 yards to the right, run. I saw a stat line the other day saying that Jalen Wright managed to run 6 times for -4 yards. Do I have that right? 6 runs for -4 yards, slightly worse than Jeff Wilson for -4 yards. We'll talk about this later during one of our other segments, but I wasn't expecting anything different. I went in here with the expectation that Denver is going to play their starters against the second and third stringers for the Chiefs at Denver, a team that's on the rise and has a lot of energy in terms of what they're doing. I fully expected this. I wasn't disappointed. We celebrated our 18-year-old daughter's birthday that day with family and friends.
Happy birthday.
So happy birthday, Emma.
Happy birthday.
And so all in all, it's over. It's upsetting from the standpoint, like Sherry said, that it's going to be a long time before we see another live snap, but it's time.
Absolutely. Jason, you were there. So I want to know if there was anything that changed the momentum. Because it's hard for me to say, like, Tyreek just all of a sudden decided to took out the game. Do you think something happened during the part of the game that all of a sudden? I know they were showing the highlights and the score in Denver and all that stuff, but do you sense something being there that could have triggered Tyreek to? We're going to talk more about Tyreek the next segment, but I want to know your thoughts on what happened during the game. Did something you think that triggered that moment?
Well, at one point there was 3 straight Dolphin possessions where they turned the ball over. So I think in between there, mixed with the scoreboard, I mean, there were a couple of interceptions thrown, and maybe after the second one, it's just, all right, I'm out, and there was 3 possessions that pretty much kind of shot themselves in the foot. And then it was really, like I said before, the air was just sucked out. You didn't really see much of a chance. The game was basically over in the middle of the third, if that, maybe earlier.
The game was over when Achan took off and got down to the 2,
Yes.
and we got a field goal. That's when the game ended.
And that's almost like the microcosm or the whole embodiment of the season, and not just the season. The Dolphins for the last 5, 10, 20 years, it's you don't go to get to the 2-yard line for 3 points. You got to cross the finish line and the goal line for 6, then maybe 7, then maybe 8 with how this game is played today. So too little, too late, falling short. This has become the most annoying sports cliche in our lives, because if you look at the 4 major sports, we're it. We're the when has it happened last? What have you done for me lately? And lately, I mean, yeah, the proof is out there, and it's not fun right now. And even with that said, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what they do in the offseason. I mean, as sick as that sounds, there's not so much that has to be tweaked. There's certain things, and there's ideologies that have to be tweaked and moved on from.
That's the key.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you said it, Sammy. If you're going to still do the same thing over and over again and expect different results, that's the definition of insanity. And if Grier is going to stick to his laurels about what his first rounder has to be, or what he's going to do on a 4 or 5 year situation, contractual decision to keep a player, tagging versus everything needs to be changed from what he has done the last 9 years or 6 years, depends on when you want to start his clock, so to speak.
We're going to talk a lot about that kind of stuff in the next 2 segments, because talking about Tyreek and talking about the Dolphins season, 24 season going forward, there's a lot of that theme about not doing too many changes and expecting different results. And last thought before we go to the next segment about the Dolphins going fishing and Tyreek basically keeping out of here. Nope.
Let's ride.
Let's go to around the TV dial with our feature segment. First of 2 feature segments.
To keep the Dolphins' playoff hopes alive, although all they had to do was look up at the scoreboard and see Bo Nix light up the Chiefs like the proverbial can of gas, that they're really not getting the result they needed from Denver anyway. But be that as it may, Tyreek Hill took to the microphone after the game and basically quit the Miami Dolphins. Man who's known for throwing up the deuces on defenders that he is burning, didn't do a lot of that this year at all, and had this to say after losing to the Jets.
As a captain, what is the message you have to these guys in the offseason, and you won't feel this at the end of the season next week?
I don't even know, bro. This is my first time I haven't been in the playoffs, man. So, mean, for me, like I said, man, I just got to do what's best for me and my family, dog. If that's here, or that's wherever the case may be, man, I'm finna open that door for myself, dog. As I'm opening the door, like I'm out, bro. You know, so it was great playing here, but you know, at the end of the day, bro, I got to do what's best for, you know, for my career and, you know, what's best. Because I'm too much of a competitor to be, you know,
Does that mean
just out there.
Mean you thinking about leaving here?
If it is, hey, yeah.
Tyreek Hill still blowing off steam a couple hours later with his thumbs. Tweeted out, "Love Finn Nation, blessing y'all. Open doors for the Hill family forever. Nothing but respect and love." That I would equate him to Antonio Brown taking a shirt off. You know what I mean? Right. Just if you think that's unfair in any way, shape, or form, just take a look at Cheetah's header today. His new avatar is his head on the shirtless body of Antonio Brown in MetLife.
Ain't this the same Tyreek Hill? Now listen, we know he all world. This is my favorite receiver. The cheetah's the cheetah. However, wasn't that the same dude that said Tua was comparable to Patrick? Am I missing? Ain't that same dude? Same Tyreek Hill who got his bag now, restructured his deal for Miami, got his bag now. I don't want to hear about your family, because your family is when it comes to the money, not the game. That's you. That's not your family. That's you. That's you, Tyreek Hill. This is the same brother. Tua had a 17 starts last year. This year he got 11. This year he was targeted 171 times last year, 123 this year. Receptions, 119 last year, 81 this year. Receiving yards, 1799 last year, 959 this year. That's a 38% drop in receptions. That's damn near 800 yards. This is an 800-yard drop in receiving yards. And by the way, his reception yards per game, it dipped from 112 to 56.4, which is his fewest since his rookie season.
What do you make of that, RC? One, he's done.
One, it ain't the right time, though.
Yeah.
It's not the right time or the right place. You weren't saying this when they threw you, or when you caught 119 balls the last two seasons and over 1,700 yards. All you talked about was how great your quarterback was, how great your play caller was. And you know you had a year of struggle because your quarterback was injured.
Yeah.
And even if you feel this way, one, you don't inform your team that you're not available if you can still run, if you can still play. And secondly, you don't go back into the locker room post-game and say these things when you understand it's been a tough season for everybody. And I get it. If you're a competitor and you want to win, you can't be oxymoronic, because a competitor that wants to win gets on the field when he's asked to get on the field because he's that good and can allow his team to succeed. And so to me, it's total bullcrap by Tyreek Hill and in his.
He's like Kramer from Seinfeld. He opened the door and he was out of it at the same time. You know, I mean, he bang, bang, boom. He's out of here, you know, in the same statement. What are you hearing down there? It's pretty crazy. Miami Dolphin talk is I spent 4.5 hours on a tube with a Miami Dolphins fan this morning.
Well, I'll just say that the year started with Tyreek Hill news and it's ending with Tyreek Hill news, because that's a wild post-game commentary to offer at the end of the season. Like, you know, he can say whatever he wants, but it feels like this has been building and going on for quite some time. It just feels like he's hinted at this and wanting to be traded, and there's been whispers about wanting to be traded. And I also think we've got a situation where, yesterday he was hurt and didn't play. Like, there's more to this, and clearly there are enough issues there yesterday that tell you that I think their future together is murky, and we'll see how each side decides to handle it going forward.
Well, I want to start to say about those of you who are new to this TV. We try to be a positive, kind of positive. Like, not on the TV in the world, that's not on the TV on the internet, on X, and everywhere. So I pride myself on trying to be a positive outlet for Dolphins Station. But I do not recall being as mad as I was this Sunday. I went on a run like I haven't been in years. Honest, I'm not proud of myself, but it happened. It is what it is. professional football, the NFL, probably more than any other sport. Uh, it's about what have you done for me lately. Players that get cut, don't guarantee money, you're out of here. In this case, if I may say so, I think it's the other way around. Uh, Tyreek is the one who's forgetting what have you done for me lately. This is a team that basically traded the whole draft and even more to bring into Miami. They made it the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. They they went through the whole drama of the ball thing, the baby mamas, every single other month. The start of the season, he started the season by getting arrested. The Dolphins put out a statement against basically against the police, law enforcement, backing him up. He went every other week in the season, trolling fans without saying if he wants to be traded, he wants to coach, if he wants to be here, criticizing. Oh no, I'm trolling. He being completely immature. It is what it is. That's who Tyreek is. We love him for the guy he is when we're winning. That we cannot complain now because he's been the same the whole time. But for me, this week, I can still, even knowing the way he is, I cannot tell you how mad I was for him doing that. Not only for me, but Mike McDaniel. You all know I'm not a Mike McDaniel believer by now. I've never been a full believer, but now I'm not a believer. But if someone got disrespected by what Tyreek Hill did on Sunday, taking himself out of the game, and those comments after the game, even he didn't want to talk to the media, and the Dolphins made him talk to the media because he's a captain. You're still a captain. Act like it. Play the game. Play the whole game. Two of your teammates have probably played in the last game of their careers. Respect that. Of course, I'm not a player. It's for me easy to say, but I still had the right as a fan, as an investor of the Dolphins, because all fans are investors of the Dolphins because we spend money every single year on clothing, on tickets, on airplanes, on hotels. We deserve the respect. We're going to talk later about it. The team basically respected the fans, but what Tyreek did, this for me this week was completely. He's out of his mind. The fact that no one there was a video of him this past week, you shared it with me, Steve, of him saying he's sick and taking the leave of absence for being sick and being in his store, working in his store, signing autographs, and his store on Monday being empty. It is what it is. Karma is a bitch.
Did he say that?
No,
was his store empty?
No, I saw a video. Someone took a video live on Monday.
Oh yeah.
Or basically his store, basically his store empty. If it's true or not, I happen to believe it's true because I think it was a live video.
Okay. Well, to be fair, I mean, it didn't look packed when he was, missing practice because of an illness last week. But he was standing there manning the
register. But he would tweet he would have the face to say, "Go to Aventura to Soul Runner." Come on, man.
Yeah, Sammy, we're talking about a captain.
Yes.
Captain in the NFL. Sarni, average. How many captains per team?
5 or 6.
Okay, 200 players in the league. 150 to 200, 180 players in the league are captains. And thinking back to my time as a fan when I was young, all the way up to now, I see that C on a chest, and I see when it gets the additional stars and turns into a full gold C, showing that player has earned the respect of his teammates to have been voted a team captain that many. I see that C, and it should mean respect. What Tyreek did here, it's selfish. That's the bottom line. There's no other way to put it. I don't care how down he was, how much his wrist might have been hurting, how upset he might be. This is a guy who, within the past few weeks, has said, I've got to up my game in practice because I'm not there enough. Like you said, Sammy, he has spent so much time this season on social media trolling. And we'll talk about Stephen Ross in the next segment, but he is now the player Miami Dolphins version of Steve Ross, where he is more interested in increasing his net personal worth than he is to adding to the value of the worth of his team that is paying him so handsomely. He's got his Soul Runner brand out there with his store and his Fortnite and other video game streaming and all these other things that he's so worried about. We saw this coming. I mean, he said when he came here, this was going to be his last contract. he was going to retire after this. I hope he does retire. I mean, it's when he left Kansas City, we know what it really was. He said he fell out of favor with Kansas City, just wanted to get out there. No, he wanted to get paid. They weren't going to pay him the way that he wanted to. So here come the Miami Dolphins to back up the Brinks trucks full of draft picks and money to get him out of there. And now his excuse is, and I deserve to be in the playoffs. I want to know what of the past 2 years of him going to the playoffs has been such a thrill for him. It's not about that. He's just pouting, crying, being extremely selfish and taking his toys, and he's going home. I don't know. Jason, what do you got, man? What do you think of this whole thing?
It irked me when he was away. So, okay, while at the game, and you saw the broadcast, I'm at the game, so what they're saying, I don't know, but he was not even next to McDaniel on the side. He wasn't even available. He was out. He was on the other end of the sideline, and you can't do that and then a couple of hours later say you're too much of a competitor. You know what a competitor is? Let me tell you something. Here's a competitor. All right, guys, we're out of the playoffs, but you know what? If I let this goddamn Jets team beat us, if we're not going to sweep the Jets, if we're going to let Aaron Rodgers, who ruined the season a couple of years ago when Green Bay came down to us, there was no fight. No, we're going to make ourselves a winning football team. That was on the line. That what's great about a 17-game season is there is no mediocrity anymore. You're a winning football team or you're a losing football team. And sorry, Mike McDaniel, that's on you. That's on you to say, I'm not a loser right now. We're a winning football team. We don't have to be in the playoffs to call ourselves a winning football team, but let's, by definition, get over 500. None of that went down. And for Tyreek to say, after a San Francisco 49er game, dropping a couple of passes because it's a lack of practice, and then the week later calling sick just to man the register at the retail spot that he's running, it's ridiculous. It's like you're calling in sick for work on March Madness, but you're at the bar watching the games. You can't do that. You have to be held accountable, and someone watching March Madness isn't getting paid $100 million for what they're doing. Okay? Tyreek Hill should have been on the field. I don't even care if he said he wanted to get to 1,000 yards to get 40 plus, 50 plus more yards to finish the game. Do that. I can't tell you how many Jet fans were pissed off walking out of the stadium saying Tyreek couldn't hit my over. That's the world we live in too. That's just the insult to injury. But to not even be on the field or just to be a captain and give an attaboy, go down the line and say, all right, let's get Devon Achane in the end zone. By the way, they know what they need. They knew that Jonnu Smith needed one more touchdown to be the sole record holder. They got it for him.
Yes.
You know what you need when you're a football player. And Tyreek Hill didn't want to go out there to get 1,000 yards again? I mean, that's a selfish statement, sure. But he didn't even want to do that. So don't complain to me that you're not a 1,000-yard receiver this year. You took yourself out for the chance to do that. And Sammy, you hit the other, this kind of thing irks me. Because, yes, the captain on the chest, I loved when the NFL started recognizing not just the captain, but the progression of captainship. Because you know why they do that? Because there are one and dones, twos and dones. I'll tell you, there's a safety who won't be a captain on this team anymore if he comes back. That's for darn sure. And you're putting stuff on tape. You're putting stuff on social media. And what he did after was basically saying, I'm going to make a joke about this. And kudos to Ryan Clark. I never heard somebody put oxymoronic in a sentence with football, but nailed it.
I want to purposely go to Matt before I go to Sherry. Matt, I see you laughing over there. What are your thoughts about all this?
Where do I start? Disappointed as I could possibly be in somebody that I don't know, that I've never met, that I'll never cross paths with. When I heard that he wasn't going to play and it was his own decision, like, quitting is the sin. That's the sin. That's the sin. So I have a lot. Thank you for coming to me because I need to stop stacking it up. Otherwise, this episode is going to be 3 hours long. First and foremost, the media doesn't care at all. At all. They don't care if you're a Dolphin or Jets fan. They don't care if you're male or female. They don't care. What they do care about is we're going to go get a soundbite. And they went and found the most immature person they could possibly find. Oh, by the way, he's got a C on his jersey. Let's see if we can just pile the coals on top, and we'll have sound bites for days. And that's exactly what they got. That kid, and I use the term kid because that's what he is to me. He caught himself. He knew he had said too much. He knew he had said all the wrong things. But
then he doubled down on it all. So
exactly.
That's what I was about to say.
And the buffoonery after the buffoonery of the Antonio Brown of all people. Come on.
Yeah, listen, you come out of that locker room, you're pissed off, you're angry, you don't want to talk to them. At minimum, hey, Miami, if you're bringing him back, get him some tutoring on how to deal with the media. If he had come out and said, listen, this was awful, we had an opportunity, and then even though the opportunity was taken away from us because Denver smoked Kansas City, we just didn't do what we should have done tonight. And, fall on your sword, dude. Do something other than that. So we've got a severe case of immaturity. Then you double down on it with thank you for telling me what that was, is I was trying to figure out what pants was he wearing? So his head was on Antonio Brown's body, right? That's symbolic. That's not symbolic. That's proof of you're doing this on purpose.
Go ahead.
There's a part of me that wonders on occasion at what point there's everybody that can hear my voice right now would do whatever they could to play in college, to play pro. My son got an offer to play in Chicago last week. He's not going to Chicago. It's too cold to play in Chicago. But he got an offer, right? He got an offer. And when I was a kid playing basketball, that's all I friggin' wanted. I just wanted a chance. And everybody in those stands is like, I either played at some level, but I'd give anything to be out there and give my all. And this guy getting paid $30 million, the number one rated player on the most inconsequential poll in the history of polls. He's number one. And he comes out there, there's kids wearing his jersey, and he shits the bed. Sorry, Sammy, but he did. I'm fine if they get a second and a fifth rounder for him. Move him. Get him off my team. It is extremely rare. Go ahead and mark this date down. It's extremely rare for anyone to hear me ever say anything like that.
Yes.
Bundle him with Jordan Poyer. See if we can keep Rachel.
Please.
We'll lose that. They won't offer us that fifth rounder anymore if we bundle him with Poyer.
I know. It's so. I could keep going on this subject because it burns, man. All I ever wanted to do was keep playing until I couldn't play anymore. And Jason, I know you're a ball player too. There was a day where it dawned on you that you were done.
I know it. I could literally tell you every minute of that day because it was in the playoffs my senior year. I knew I wasn't going to be playing in college. Had a chance to play D3, but that wasn't my life anymore. And I knew once we lost that game, that was it. That was the last time I was playing in a real refereed with stands, with my family, watching the whole nine. And I'm depressed now. It was a long time ago.
At minimum, I would have gone out there and run gassers every single play. I'm running 9 routes. I don't care what they call, I'm running 9 routes. If Snoop Huntley sees me, I'll be open, right? I would have done whatever I could have. or I would have hit somebody in the back and drawn a flag to make sure I was in the stat book. But get them off my team. I don't. We don't need it. Of course, that leaves us with Jalen Waddle, who's a phenomenal receiver when he receives the ball. That's a
We saw, and tell me, guys, if you've seen this happen in any other football game. I've never seen a quarterback fumble a snap, pick it up, and then have a wide receiver make a drop on the same play.
I know, it was brutal.
So, as a scorekeeper, you're literally saying fumbled snap, wide receiver drop. What? Like, I that was just crazy to me. But Waddle, I like Waddle. If he has to become the number one guy and gets 175 targets, I'm curious. I'm very curious because if
I'm
you
skeptical.
I'll share that word too. Curious has some skepticism too, absolutely. But it would really make me happy if they do, Matt. If they get a 2 and a 5, sign me up right now. Use that 2 for spite. Draft a wide receiver. Like literally draft the wide receiver, but call an outside X 6'4", 6'3" guy a complete opposite.
It's funny you said 175. I think you said 175 targets. There's 19 drops in those targets, and I was just complaining about it, but I would be okay with that because it would mean that he's getting like the potential for him to have success in those 175 targets is legitimate. He easily a double-digit touchdown scorer. But look, I'm going to wrap up my part on Tyreek Hill and say this. It was an exciting experiment. And for one season, we got to see amazingness. Amazingness.
He's a Hall of Famer at the end of the day. He's a Hall of Famer, no doubt about that.
The excitement of, is he going to get to 2,000 yards? Because that's crazy.
And the Dolphins did everything they could to get him those 2,000 yards. That's what's so selfish about it.
That was the problem. And I said this on a couple of shows last year, 2 years ago. I hated the campaign for 2000.
Yes.
I didn't like it. It was fun. It would be great to say, but listen to what that's saying. Me.
And I think we talked about, I'm almost positive we talked about that thing right there. If it was happening organically where the fans were like, oh my God, if he keeps this up, like he only needs to average, and as the season, compressed, he's got a chance here. That would have been exciting. But no, whoever fed into it, and that's all you heard because a lot of points are being scored, air raid, the greatest show on surf, whatever you want to say. I'm going to shut up now, but I have to say this, Sammy, I'm very thankful that this is the last show of the season because I am sick and tired of seeing Stephen A. Smith on your show.
You didn't agree with him, though. What he said today, I was going to say I don't like him either, but I could not disagree with what he was saying in that clip.
Sure, take it. Your next, take it away. Keep going, please.
I don't agree with him much, and we could have a little General Hospital clip now if we want to, but we'll save that for next season. But he was not wrong. And that is the issue with Tyreek, and everybody said everything, so I'm going to keep this as short as possible. Tyreek could come out at the end of that game and show some class and say all the things that everyone wanted him to say. However, by him pulling himself out of the game, that started the ball rolling. He couldn't come out after that and say anything other than what he said because it would have been two-faced hypocritical nonsense. And I think, I'm going to ask my husband, can you mute your mic for a second? I want to see. There, look at that. It was that. I had a feeling because I could hear the reverb in my head. So sorry, Kosa, or whoever earlier said that. We apologize. This hasn't happened all season, and now I've lost my train of thought because I heard myself over and over and over again. But you can't go and quit on your team and then expect anything else later in an interview. So he needed to Marshawn Lynch that interview, even if it was just I'm in no headspace right now to talk. I understand you want to talk to me, but right now anything I say isn't going to have any positive bearing on this scenario, so I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Something other than the absolute a teenager who didn't get their way, a child who didn't get their way, and then this is what comes out of your mouth is just absolute bullshit because even if he took a step back and looked, he can't justify. Maybe he can. Maybe that's who he is. But if you're a professional, and we've discussed this with our kids, integrity is doing the right thing when no one's looking, but it's also doing the right thing when everybody's looking. And everybody was looking. And I think it was sorry you said something about the children wearing his jersey. It wasn't just him and the bullshit like they said. You're not worried about what's best for your family. You play your cards right. You don't lose this money. You have generational wealth for however many children you're going to have. They won't have to work very hard. Well, as of now, I don't know what tomorrow.
Well, I gave them for Christmas a vasectomy on the camera. And she can send us them. Hopefully he took it.
If he's taking care of them, what am I supposed to say or do? That's none of my business. What I feel is my business as a Dolphins fan is that you can't say this is about my family and my well-being when doing well in your scenario is the best for your family and what kind of a role model are you for your kids if you care? I don't think he cares because I don't want my kids to see me quit. If I get upset and say or do the wrong thing in front of my kids, I'm not going to double down on that. I'm going to say, wait a minute, hold on. I was in the moment and I made a mistake because humans make mistakes. It wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. Because a mistake is something that happens once and you fix it. A choice is you walk away, you don't put yourself in, you ignore the coach, and I know that, Jason, you said only one person is to blame, and that's Mike McDaniel. And I'm just going to counter that with saying how many people quit that day? One. The rest of them played until the end. So I'm not saying he's great, and I'm not saying he's the answer, and we're going to discuss in a couple of minutes that there needs to be a whole philosophical change going forward, and he needs to step away from play calling. But only one player quit on him on Sunday. And that says more about Tyreek Hill to me than that says about Mike McDaniel right now in this scenario.
For sure. And definitely didn't want to put it all on Mike McDaniel. The generality of it is, yes, you're absolutely right. One player took himself away from the situation, and that was Tyreek Hill. And there's no excuse for that. But tell you the truth, why not chew him out? Could you imagine if you did that on Bill Cowher? Could you imagine if you did that on Don Shula?
He'd be gone already.
He'd be gone. This is a man who looked at Larry Zonka in the face and said, the only reason I didn't trade you is because I made a call. I couldn't get enough I wanted for you.
He wouldn't have been on the plane home with Don Shula.
No. I mean, and that's what I'm bothered by about McDaniel because, he is who he is, which is a fun, awesome thing. But it's almost like when Jerry Seinfeld yells, he's not being serious. He's being funny. It's a comedically high pitch. If Mike McDaniel at one point goes up and does a disciplinary action, I think at this point players are going to be like,
sure, whatever.
Yeah. It's like a substitute t-shirt.
Is this again?
Whatever.
Is this a bit? Are we on Hard Knocks right now? There's no accountability.
Such a great analogy. I can think of the exact episode. Kramer laughing at him because he raised his voice, yelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a new bit?
That's great.
Yeah.
So you hit the nail on the head there. It's accountability. There's a huge lacking of it, but it's not just Tyreek holding himself accountable. It's Mike McDaniel holding himself accountable to his position as the leader in that locker room. You can say the players in the locker room. You can defer to your leaders on the team, to the Calais Campbells, to the others and everything. But it's a lack of accountability in that. But let's be real. Raise your hand right now if anybody's really, truly surprised that Tyreek Hill, as we've known him in his career, that this happened.
I was surprised it didn't happen before.
I didn't say to talk, Sammy. I said raise your hand if you're surprised. Okay. So, no. But it's... we should have seen this coming. We had to have known if the guy won a Super Bowl in Kansas City and had everything he could possibly ask for and is missing out on an opportunity at a three-peat to add to his one that he already had before, then you know what was going to happen here. But maybe the one saving grace, and I want to use this as a segue to our next segment here, maybe my one saving grace for McDaniel in this whole thing would be Tyreek pouted, sat on the sidelines as far as away he could without picking up, taking his jersey off, and storming off away from McDaniel as he could get. Because maybe McDaniel was saying, you decided to go, man your retail shop. And he wasn't intentionally feeding him. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that would be my one saving grace right now for Mike McDaniel. But
that's a perfect segue. Let's go straight to how, Steven Ross decided only 3 hours after the game he wanted to bring the band back together for the 2025 season.
For me, it was good to see his growth as a player when he was playing. I would say that the one thing that has come out of this, even this year, was the leadership part. Is all the players were talking about his leadership and the step he's taken, and had a couple of our free agents that come in said he was one of the best leaders they've ever been around for a quarterback. And to see where he's come from his early time here was impressive. That being said, he needs to be available. Like, he needs to know how to protect himself. Like, you're going to get hit at times. It's always going to happen. But he needs to control what he can control. He understands that. Not being available for taking chances and risks is unacceptable to us, and he knows that. And it's with us, obviously we had drafted Skyler here, 3 years ago, and he started the playoff game and almost beat Buffalo on the road. We lost 34-31. We beat the Jets to get into the playoffs. And then and just watching him work through the following year, which he never got a chance because Tua stayed healthy, played the entire season. So we were excited about him and his growth, and the players believed in him. He won the backup job through the spring. But that said, as we always do throughout that entire offseason, and Mike and Steve is aware of it through it, we were in on a number of top-flight backup quarterbacks in the league. We were runner-ups for a couple of them that we wanted to get here, and for some financial restraints and compensatory pick stuff, we just couldn't go to those prices. But all those guys wanted to come here, and so it's a position that we did not take lightly. We were working through that the entire offseason, and the fact that some of those guys were willing to come here at what we could pay them, it shows how they believe in Mike and the staff and the offensive scheme and the players that are here. They're all excited about our skill group. So that's a position we will always focus on, and it will be a position that we will focus on this offseason. And I will tell you, every stone will be unturned at that position, including the draft.
Yeah, I mean, there's the ultimate ultimatum, which is, it's pretty simple. I think it's important that you let guys know that, we're at the point in our team where guys are firmly aware of the expectations, and if your actions continually lead to finable offenses, that you're telling me without words that you don't want to be here. So it's, I think it's very clear. I think it's not an indictment necessarily of all, but we are subject to everyone's actions as a football team, so we'll address those as such.
I like to call what you saw Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier actually bring a not guilty plea to basically that's probably what they said to Steven Ross. They threw, if you ask me, they threw two under the bus. We wasn't a better team because we had two out of hurt because we told him a million times not to run, and he ran and he got concussed, and then he got the hip, and if that wouldn't have happened, we'll be in the playoffs. Apparently, Steven Ross bought that, and he's bringing the band back together 2025. But I want to start with Steve. Steve, is your segment. What are your thoughts about the whole fiasco, the press conference, and everything, and all moving forward?
Well, sure. Well, hold on real quick. And go ahead. You go first, and then I've got to start. Go
I'm
ahead.
not going to go first. I'm not going first. I have one thing I want to say, and that is I'm going to now make a shirt that says every stone will be left unturned, Chris Grier. Because you're supposed to say no stone will be left unturned. He's leaving them all unturned. So we're not looking for anything anywhere. We're going to keep things just the way they are, which sounds about right for Chris Grier. So every stone will be unturned.
That's like you're just double negative. You got the double negative mistake out. I like that. I love that. That's great.
He's going to catch your grammar, my man. So, okay, I want to do a very quick round robin because I've got a lot to talk about on this topic. I know, big surprise, but I'm going to start on my screen here. I'm going to go Jason, Sherry, Matt, and Sammy. But you got to do me a solid. Before you answer, I want you to take a deep breath, stop, think. I want it to be a thoughtful answer here. You're the owner of the Miami Dolphins. What is the culture in your estimation? I don't need a long thing. What is the culture of Miami Dolphins as you've been the owner of them? It's Jason.
What has the culture been the last couple of years? Like, what am I analyzing? What do I want it to be?
Yeah. No. What is it now? What is it presently?
It's a country club.
Okay, cool.
And no, it's a country club.
That's great.
I'll elaborate after everyone goes, but keep it rolling for the sake of keep it rolling.
I think the inmates are running the asylum.
Cool. Matt?
I referenced this early this year. They're in South Beach. Do you work when you're in South Beach? Because the million times I've been in South Beach, I've never worked once.
It's really funny you say that. Go ahead, Sammy.
A Band-Aid, just because Steven Ross never gets what really wants. He wanted Harbaugh, he didn't get Harbaugh. He wanted Peyton, he went with Peyton. He wanted Burrow, he didn't get Burrow. Every single time, what he wants, he never gets. He puts the binder on and let's keep going.
So that's perfect right there. That's perfect, Sammy, because you're talking about somebody who is so aware of people outside of his organization and so enamored with the head coach of the Saints that he decided to tamper with him. So aware of the quarterback that owned his franchise for 16 seasons, almost owned him in the season that he lost his ACL. I mean, we barely won the division that year. Thank goodness Wildcat. Thank goodness Pennington. Thank you, Jets, Favre, giving us Pennington. That's a shout out to my wife's shirt that she made that year. But he's not aware enough of what is going on and what the people who are spending money on the merch, the people who are putting their asses in the seats of what they're seeing. I don't know what it is that he sees. What's the trend with this team? I mean, since let's go back to Flores, because we saw the defensive bump, we saw things, then we saw, God, this isn't working. Let's tank. We can't even tank properly. And then we bring in McDaniel. We see a trajectory. We bring in Tyreek Hill while it's damn near at its peak. We get the two best back-to-back seasons possible out of a wide receiver in NFL history. But it's in a downward trajectory. It's been a downward trajectory since, I don't know, the first offensive play against the 49ers last year, because that's when the ice started to crack, and never once has it really recovered. But we've seen rebuilds happen in other organizations much more recently than ours took place and started in 2020. Really, 2019 was the tank. 2020 was really, this is the rebuild. We've got the embarrassment of riches in the draft. We've got the capital in salary cap. We are going to spend this. This is our rebuild. But we're seeing teams like the Detroit Lions, Houston Texans, Minnesota. We're seeing these teams go leaps and bounds. And I think game, they could end up, turn into total crap next year. We don't know. But we're seeing teams that have gone past this. So again, what is Steve Ross's culture? What is his standard? I went on this a few weeks ago. What is your standard? Do you even have one? Because if his answer was 3 hours after it, he made his mind up well before Tyreek went and sat his ass on the bench. He knew what he was going to send out there. There was nothing in that game that told me, yeah, that's good. I'm going to roll that forward. Sammy, you told me the moment that in our WhatsApp chat, which thank you for entertaining me for about an hour and 18 minutes on WhatsApp the other night because I had to vent. But the moment he threw that game ball to Mike McDaniel, he made his mind up. He knew what was going to happen. And frankly, that wasn't even an amazing victory. That was like, hey, cool, we won. Awesome, cool.
But we all knew that. We all knew that when he gave him the game ball.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right, Matt. So it's, again, I don't understand what it's tone deaf to your fan base. But again, you ask, are people going to stop buying season tickets? I see people on social media saying, hey, just tell me if you're going to get rid of your season tickets. And if they happen to be closer to the field than I am, I'm going to pick them up. Awesome. That's cool.
They're still going to go to the game. And I would bet money, maybe not a lot, but I would bet money that if the Hallett family lived in Boynton Beach, next door to the Sarney family, that y'all would go to those same games.
I was going to just say that too. You're saying they are doing this, but we had season tickets for 1 year. We didn't renew them for several reasons, and some of them were not even related to football, but just everybody has their reasons. But ultimately, if the money's there and the location works, I'm looking at all of us. I mean, all of us are dripping in Dolphins. Our homes are dripping in Dolphins. Everything we do, we have 3 dogs named after Miami Dolphins. And we've still been losing, and we're still going. So I have to think that has to come out of the equation. But before you finish, let me say, because I said this before, I think Stephen Ross's culture is car racing and tennis and drawing people into the area, not so much providing a good product, but thinking that just the atmosphere and the experience is enough. Well, he's made our experience worse by getting rid of half of the parking. You have to shuttle into the stadium. Nothing is convenient anymore. It's not like it was before because he has expanded his vision, and the focus isn't on what matters to the 5 of us. The focus is on what matters to him and his bottom line. That is someone who's looking at a bottom line.
No, you're right. Hold on real quick. You're right. Sherry's right, because everybody was like, oh my God, Tom Brady could become a part owner of the Dolphins. Tom Brady, he became a part owner of the Raiders. He came to Tampa because of the real estate developing that had an opportunity. He didn't care about being an owner of a specific NFL franchise. He wanted the opportunity to get in at a fraction of what it would cost to actually do it, but get into that real estate opportunity to build his fortune. And to Sherry's point, and you were nodding along, and I'm going to pass it to you here, Jason, was he bought the Dolphins, but he bought the vision of increasing that to making much more money. Fantastic point, Sherry. Jason?
Amazing point, and it opens up the door of what I kind of haven't wanted to say publicly, but now what the hell? I'll say it. I'll get it off my chest. From a business standpoint, if you want to go to the board, Stephen Ross is phenomenal at making money. He is a developer.
Yes.
Now, let's look at the term developer. He's a real estate developer. When you see real estate and you're on the outside, what's the first thing that you see? You see a facade. You see what's on the outside, and it could be beautiful. But do you know, passing on the street, how the hospitality services are in there? Do you know how the shower flow is? Do you know how the garbage maintenance? Do you know how everything, the ebbs and the flows within that beautiful facade works? Are the tenants happy? What's the detail? So from a football standpoint, beautiful building. From an entertainment standpoint, South Florida has car racing now, tennis. If I want to go see the Chili Peppers, maybe they'll be at Hard Rock again. Outstanding job, sir, creating a mecca. However, I don't care about it. Frankly, I'm impressed with how they've done things. What I'm not impressed about is taking away things like Fan Weekend, taking away the podcasters, taking away the fans, putting them on the sidelines for influencers. I have a little bit of a hunch. Is every single famous TikToker a Dolphin fan? No. Is Hawk Tua a Tua fan? Now she's up rolling. Who knows what she's doing? But fact of the matter is, they are bringing in people to get the social media channels flowing for people who, after the fact, don't care about the social media job that they did with the team that paid them to do it for a couple of hours. The passion is what they've left. You take away, Sammy, what's on your head versus what's on Steve's head. I'm not knocking what's on Steve's head, but we're talking about availability. You take away a culture. You take away the logo. You take away the history. You take away what the Orange Bowl was. And getting fit. I never saw a game at the Orange Bowl. If I can go in a DeLorean and go back to
I did. We had season tickets when I was a kid.
I did.
Game to watch in the Orange Bowl. Can't do that. But the fact of the matter is, you're taking away diehard fan seats and you're giving them to the corporations who were giving them to the clients, who were giving them to their friends, who were giving them to their kid for a birthday. And they're not coming in because it's too hot and they're going to the clubs. It's delicious food. The clubs are phenomenal, but the product sucks because you're not getting the raucous. You're not getting, do you hear these guys? Like, you're not getting the Green Bay, the Arrowhead, this Pittsburgh Steelers. We will travel to watch a game on the depths of hell and not complain about the heat. We'd rather complain about being too far away from our team. And that's what I think has happened. It looks amazing. A lot of things have been a benefit, but it's been a detriment to the worst thing you could detriment, the football product.
But so to your point there, though, he bought something, the Miami Dolphins.
He bought the brand and the building. He bought the brand and the building.
But he bought the Miami Dolphins and the fans, and the only thing that he has right now that he is disappointing out of that are the Miami Dolphins fans.
But
He's making the F1.
Exactly right.
He's making US F1 racing fans happy. He's making the, 10, 15 tennis fans out there happy. He's made the venue happy in terms of concerts, the ability with his renovations. He's acquiesced to everything that they wanted, but left us in the dust. I saw a post the other day, just so I can share. He post the other day of people still waiting for their season ticket member gifts.
Yeah, I haven't got one.
They wanted a chair. They were given a voucher for a cooler, a Yeti cup, a chair. I don't know what else there was. A membership in the Jelly of the Month Club, something like that. But
that's a vacation reference.
Yes, but they still haven't received it. But go back to the fact that there wasn't even going to be a season ticket member gift this year until the likes of Dull Freaky, Big E, and the other voices on social media raised it up and said, Garfinkel, shame on you. Ross, shame on you. They've left it behind.
There have been some good things. And you mentioned a Garfinkel. I feel like I have to just, for my own sake, they have done great things.
Yes.
For me personally, like I can look over my shoulder and be extremely grateful for something that they said. You know what I mean? They have done good things. So I have to kind of backpedal a little bit. But
the improvement has been phenomenal.
But that's good for one.
Yeah, but they've done it for a lot of other people too. Like,
okay,
right.
And they've done it for the influencers too, Jason.
Fair enough. But in terms of what bringing in like a Garfinkel or bringing in the business, there could be a separation of church and state, so to speak. There could be such a separation where there's the business of non-football, and then there could be literal football people making it's not going to happen, but that would be phenomenal. And then I wouldn't care about what they're doing on the business side and the other sports, as long as the people are literally passing each other's in the hall. You got the football person going this way. You got the music and the Formula One and the tennis people going the other way, and they don't care about each other. They don't coexist. They're under the same umbrella, but they don't care about each other. That I don't think is going on.
We're going to agree to disagree because Garfinkel has the blank check to do everything that Ross wants. And if Garfinkel wants to say, we are going to give a payback to the fans, he can do that. But I want to bring this back full circle to Sherry here. We've got the owner within hours of absolute travesty in terms of the final game and everything that's going on saying our trend and you can answer this for me, what the Dolphins' trend is right now for what they're doing. Let's go the last 3 years. But saying, hey, we're going to run it back.
First of all, you said something and then a bunch of stuff happened in the middle, but something you said gave me a visceral, full body reaction of anger and ire, not at you, at what you were saying.
That happens all the time.
And it had to do with Stephen Ross and his vision and his lack of vision. And you're never going to hear me defend Stephen Ross. I'm sorry. I get that there's F1. I get that there's racing, that there's tennis, that there's all this stuff. But if he bought the Dolphins and he's not going to make his primary investment the best product that it can be, then that's a failure. I get it that maybe if he comes in and says, my vision isn't the Dolphins, my vision is South Florida, and this is all what I'm going to bring to the area, but then let somebody else own the Dolphins and work with them. I am pissed off because since 1971, and I couldn't even remember, I've been a Dolphins fan. My uncle who lives in Fort Myers, lives in the Orlando area now, was texting my sister and I. He has had it. He's much older than us, but very young at heart. And we were channeling my older uncle, Alan, who's the one who got me involved with the Dolphins in the first place. 2 years old, watching at his house. You couldn't talk unless you were cheering for the team. You couldn't come in the room if you were speaking anything other than cheering for the team. And
He's a man after my heart.
We were saying that we took over for him because he had a friend that he would call every time the Dolphins did something stupid and say, those assholes, they did it again. Nothing's ever going to change. And this was through the 70s. This was through the 80s until he passed. You looked at his home, it was like our home. He loved this team. I love this team. I want somebody running this team who loves this team. I want somebody who loves the team more than Miami Lakes, more than South Beach, more than the culture of just bringing everybody. And I know, Matt, are you rolling your eyes at me?
No. I wasn't.
That's
I
my
promise.
ideal world, is where the person that's running it actually gives a crap.
And Shaq, I want to play off that for like another quick second and get off my little soapbox here. But I know we all joke around about the logo, but let's analyze this for a quick second. Mr. Ross comes in, he wants to change the vision. So he changes it up. He changes the colors a little bit, changes the logo a little bit, just changes things up. And with all due respect, it's been nothing but a stank. It has failed. So here's my not just suggestion, literal and praying. Call it a loss. Cut your loss. Go back. Go back to the logo. Give us what we love. Give us that logo back. Because you never know on what kind of a snowball that could do from a fan base standpoint, from a look good, feel good, play good standpoint, from an aura sense.
Pride.
People ask about culture all the time. Here's my 2-word answer for what I would love for the culture to return to. Don Shula. And it's a different time, and you can't change. He's a one-off. You can't change people. You can't change the times, but you could damn well revert to the way back when times were better. At least look the part. Get back to what the fans want. Listen to the fans. And if there was ever a heavy consideration to scrap what's now and go back to what has worked, I know it might not translate to X's and O's, but just think about it. Cleanse yourself now.
What's funny about that is when the new logo, the one my husband's got on that beautiful bucket hat, when that logo came out, I said, nope, I'm not buying anything with it on it. I'm not wearing anything with it on it. This is sacrilegious to the team that I worship, because that is my religion is Miami Dolphins. My Mecca is the stadium. That is like saying, all right, I don't want to disparage anybody's religion, so I don't want to equate it to religious artifacts.
But I got you.
To me, that logo,
You're right.
was that was my thing. You see, I have it on. I've got a Bob Greasy jersey on right now. You can't see, but that is, and I get that people who are latecomers don't even know that culture, but those of us who do know it represents something.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine going. And like Steve said, you're going to resell how much merch doing that, because everybody's buying everything.
Yeah, there is such an easy solution to any of that. Number one, you have 2 throwback days. You know what? Make the new jerseys the throwbacks. Yeah. So you have that, and you know what? Have garage sales. have liquidation sales. It's not a hard thing to clothe Dolphin fans. We will spend the money, but you give us incentive to spend money the right way, the way we want to. We're going to be like drunken sailors in on Fleet Week. Are you kidding me?
And someone has to check because I think there is an NFL rule on how often you're allowed to change your logo. So I don't know if we're outside.
I think we're past that point.
Okay.
I think we're past that point. But Matt, I want to give you an opportunity here. We've been rambling. You haven't had a chance to opine here. Running it back, man.
So first and foremost, Sherry, I would never roll my eyes at you. That is reserved.
At me.
That's reserved for Steve. I'm going to say some controversial things that you guys probably will not expect coming from my talking head. First and foremost, this entire pod today is totally different if they hold the lead in the fourth quarter against Arizona. We're not talking about this, not today. We're talking about their chances against the Bills or whoever the opponent would be. And you guys might be, yeah, but I'm mad because they got up there and said they're going to run it back one more year. Okay. It's always interesting to me because I'm guilty as a fan of getting emotional about my favorite team, whoever it is. Did you know that we're not required to be a fan of a specific? We chose that team,
100%.
whoever it is, and we get frustrated by it, and it's so nonsensical. But we do it because we're fans, and fans is short for fanatics, like the bearded fanatic who has now joined us. You like how I rolled
I like
that?
I like how you did that.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
And last week we had a good back and forth about should Grier keep his job, and you guys know exactly where I stand on that. I'm going to take you, Steve, back a few years to the conversation we had on social media, and I said to you, I don't understand why we bought a car with a busted chassis, and I was referring specifically to the hip injury that number one sustained at Alabama. But we also talked about the radical ankle surgery that he had. This guy is a walking medical chart. I am on the record on this show as saying that I am a fan of number one. That does not mean that we should have drafted him. So if you want to fire him, don't fire him for being 7 for 9 in his number one picks since he's been the GM going back to Laramie Tunsil. Do the math. There's 2 out of those 9 that you can call scrubs. Noah Igbenogany and Charles
Harris.
Thank you. All the rest of them, you would take them every single day.
But what is the trend? He's responsible.
I'm not done.
And finish and answer the damn question. Are you happy with him running it back?
Ooh, damn it.
I don't have a choice. Let them run it back. They won't
Well,
be.
you can be disappointed with it. I mean,
Why
if you're
would I
not
be
disappointed-
It literally has no effect on me unless I allow it to. And you want me to be emotional about it. You need me to be emotional about it. But you're not going to get it because the fact of the matter is they don't know I exist. They don't know I exist.
Without any of us, they don't exist. And that's what they don't understand is that if all of us have that attitude, they cease to exist.
I totally agree with you. The whole logo thing baffles me. The entire Fins Nation. Let me back up for 30 seconds. I love the new logo. I do. But when they broke out the throwbacks, the old logo should be the throwback. Jason, you're 100% right. And make it one day, one game out of the season. It doesn't need to be 2. Bring back the throwbacks and watch all the animosity go away. If they announced it tomorrow, the Dolphins are bringing back throwbacks, holy shit. Nobody cares that they're running it back with McDaniel and Grier.
It's that simple. It's even, you know what? Throw on the 94 threads. How they looked. use the 72 throw. You know what I mean? Just the logo, just the
I
Dolphin
totally
logo.
yes. The
However,
90s they're so beautiful.
Correct.
All of that goes right out the window, and then at draft day, it manifests itself, right? It explodes in that glorious aqua, and you see it all over the place, and nobody cares who's picking because their team is going to be the best looking team on the field. I'm not wrong.
I think this is a little bit of satire.
Matt, go ahead,
it
go
would get
ahead.
us through. Well, it would get us through the off season, but it isn't going to carry us through.
Of course.
I mean, we're all fans for life. This is why we do this. This is why we're here. We can complain, but yes, it does affect my life because it is part of who I am, and that maybe that's stupid, but that's just a fact of life, and that it is that way for a lot of people. I listen to. Go ahead.
I say that to put it in perspective.
Sure.
I say it to put it into perspective because, as we all know, it's a sport, it's a game, and we've already said, to being sick of hearing it, we are fans and they don't even know we exist. I would love for somebody to go, oh no, Ross heard you, and by the way, he's thinking about making the throwbacks permanent. That would be fantastic. Sammy would go through the roof because he'd know that the man himself was listening to his show. It would be fantastic. But the reality is that's not reality, right? Listen, Steve, am I happy that I think I'm happy that I don't have to hear about who's going to be the GM, and I don't have to hear about all of the BS rumors that are out there. Listen, I just saw today that multiple NFL teams, there's no truth to it. Make no mistake. There's no truth to what I'm about to say. But there's a story out there that multiple NFL teams have contacted Bill Belichick about their openings. If you know anything about what Bill Belichick is doing right now, you know there's no legitimacy to it. There's none. But that's what happens, and we go through who's going to be the coach, who's going to be the GM. Dude, we've been through that.
And here's why, Matt. Because as fans, we want to feel like we are headed in the right direction, even in the middle of a really bad season. At the end of that really bad season, you know that you are, hopefully, unless you're a Cleveland Browns fan or a Jets fan, you know that you are at the trough of that cycle and you are about ready to head up. So if I ask what is the trend of this team, you've got a head coach who said, yeah, I figured at some point they were going to catch on. Well, dog, they caught on at the time we traveled to the West Coast for 2 weeks against the 49ers and the Chargers last year, and we haven't been able to bust out of that funk. He went into the offseason and was arrogant enough to think, I can run it forward from last year, and they're going to fall off again. Dude, they didn't. Okay. We've got a GM who back-to-back off seasons now has said, you guys are more worried about a fragile unit on our team than we are. So this is a result. This is a results. Yes, we are worried, but that he needs. I'm going to keep this PG-13. He needs to be concerned about it, but he should be. But here's why he's not.
He's not wrong
because despite all of his. I don't give a damn about I care about the record at the end of it. You can tell me how fantastic his first-round picks have been. His results of what he has gotten from the decisions that he's made to his head coach who has control over the coordinators, who has control over the culture in the locker room and on the field has resulted in where we are right now.
And if they hold the lead in the fourth quarter against the Cardinals, we're not having this conversation. We can
maybe so. No, we would be. We'd be having it a week from now because we'd be getting our asses handed to us in Buffalo, and we know it.
Okay.
Because we don't.
Both things could be true.
Hang on, the same Buffalo team that we gave up a 61-yarder to in Buffalo.
Yeah, because if you look at the last 3 weeks of games, we're playing at the same level as Buffalo. You're right.
Both things could be true. Where yes, they lost in a bad way at home, and Tua's first game back from injury, they should have beaten the Cardinals. Absolutely. We could revisionist history, whatever. But you said something, Matt, that I wanted to touch on, the 7 out of 10, like the good things that he's done. Grier, here's the thing with Grier in drafting for first-round talent specifically. He's got a fantastic eye for talent, but he
Don't say that. I'm sorry, Jason. You can't say that.
Well, let's go over it real quick. The first, real quick, the eye for talent, not what they do as a Dolphin. Okay, so Laramie Tunsil slipped after the bonging incident.
Sure.
So I don't know if that was Mike Tannenbaum saying, you better pick this guy, or if Grier says, yes, he slid to me. But a couple of years later, you trade him. The next draft, you have Charles Harris, who was a failure. You want to hear something funny? You guys want to laugh and be terrified at the same time? I could play the 6 degree of separation game with Charles Harris, and you know what the trade to the Atlanta Falcons when we sent them out there? We got, Shari, you're right.
I'm all right. I fell over.
Not yet. Don't fall over just yet. We traded Charles Harris a couple of years into that failure, and we traded him to the Falcons for a pick, in which we turned into a trade to the Tennessee Titans to get Isaiah Wilson, who didn't do anything, and another draft pick that we turned into Skylar Thompson. So trading away first-round draft picks for a 7th rounder doesn't work. And then you do the Fitzpatrick, talented player. These are Pro Bowl, not Charles Harris, but the other 2 are Pro Bowl players. Christian Wilkins was a great pick. Don't want to go into the revisionist of the contract, but these guys don't get retained.
So let me ask you a question then about the Christian Wilkins thing.
Sure.
Everybody wants to screw Grier and get rid of him, but I remember earlier this year or last year now during free agency, the whole world was up in arms because they weren't going to re-sign Christian Wilkins.
Well, here's the deal with that. A couple of years ago.
Hang on. Who would you take today, Wilkins or Sealer?
Oh, of course, Sealer. That's easy. But here's
you can't have it both ways by saying that the guy sucks at his
a couple
job.
of years ago. The Christian Wilkins thing I was able to get over because of how it went down and the money that was eventually spent on him and Sealer and all that. Year before that, they did make the attempt to keep him home with the deal. And then they just priced themselves out. Then it just was a disaster. But when you also look at, the other picks that they should have kept home, not just first rounders per se, that's the habit, is we'll bring them in, and you know what? Nah, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to pick them again. And this whole compensatory thing with letting a Van Ginkel or a Brandon Jones and a Christian Wilkins go just to get a 95th to 140th pick, to me is asinine, because you're letting Pro Bowlers go, Van Ginkel. You're letting a guy who's one of the top safety graded players out, Brandon Jones, go. Why not retain these players? Here's a scary thing, and then I'll stop. How many captains this year were drafted Dolphins originally? There were 8 captains this year.
And how many of them were drafted?
How many of them were originally drafted by the Dolphins?
Out
of those 8?
I would bet
one.
It's one, right?
Tua, yeah.
One.
Holland.
No, last year he was a captain. He wasn't a captain this year. They did not make him a captain this year. That's why I was indicating he's probably not going to be voted a captain anymore, because he was a captain 2 years ago. And look at the year he had when he wasn't a captain. Where's the accountability and where was his season? Where was his leadership? He was doing kicking rock videos. A year he came off being a captain. So what this is telling me with having all these free agents, all these guys that they're signing, the problem with Chris Grier is not identifying talent. It's retaining those that you draft and make homegrown talent. Build your organization with that and make 1 or 2 signings and trades to bring in the final pieces. Don't make Tyreek, Jalen, Bradley Chubb. All these are trading picks to bring in guys who have built cultures somewhere else and learned culture somewhere else. No one cares about a Jets rivalry from the captain's standpoint. That's what I'm trying to say. You need homegrown guys, reward them with second contracts, reward them with extensions. I know they just started doing that with Jalen and Tua, but imagine if they had a good relationship with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Imagine if that was amended. Imagine if they didn't have to trade Laramie Tunsil. These are guys who are still playing right now in the Pro Bowl. It's unbelievable to me.
Fire them all.
The change needs to be keep your hits home. I don't care how much it costs. I don't need to get a 3rd round or 4th round compensatory pick because of it.
This fan base will then turn around and say you should not have extended John Doe. This fan base will say you should not have given him so much. They did it with Tua. And
you can't. Okay, hold on, because I see you shaking your head. Yes, Sarni, but I'm going to say this too. It depends on who you are. When you're giving an extension to somebody who's one stiff breeze away from losing their brain.
Exactly. You got to let him. You know what? You bring up a good point there. They could have played the business, said, we're going to want you to play it out. Like, we're not going to pay you right now. Sure, I was like coming off of an MVP season. I was like, yeah, you know what? Pay to his market value, which is what he got. He got a market quarterback value. You know, he didn't get paid, $70 million. He didn't reshift the market, but his agency himself, he had to have taken that deal. And it was the Dolphins in a bad or lack of foresight or lack of, now you want to be tough. Now you don't want to be tough. Now you want to give the money. You should have given the extra couple million to Andrew Van Ginkel. You should have told the guy who is more of the risk to not be available, let me see you do it again this year. If you do it again, then we'll talk.
That is.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sherry. Go ahead.
I've been wanting to ask this question since we started this. In
Go
that
ahead.
vignette you played, Sammy, did I hear Chris Grier say that Skylar Thompson is a great quarterback, but we just didn't get to see him develop because Tua stayed healthy? Did I seriously hear that?
Basically, that's what he said, yes.
That is absurd, and that right there should tell you this man is not fit for this job, because that is the dumbest crap I've heard all day.
If you have
And I've said some dumb crap today.
If you have a quarterback prone to injury and you have hundreds of millions of dollars invested into two receivers, wouldn't it behoove you to put backup quarterback on the top of the list that isn't a starter? Like, I don't care if you're spending more money on your backup quarterback more than your second cornerback, if you know what I'm saying.
Especially since without your quarterback, you're done.
Correct. So if you pay someone, let's say you pay someone a couple of $1 million more than Mike White. Let's say you pay someone $5 million instead of the 2 or the 3. Let's call it $1 million for 1 or 2 more wins that quarterback would have. Would you guys have paid Stephen Russ's $100 million or $200 million? I'm sorry, $1 million or $2 million for one more win from backup quarterback? Like, that's what it comes down to. Right. Spend money wisely.
And that's when our defense was playing balls out.
Yeah.
So, Matt, I want to give you an opportunity to close this out, and I just want to go through a couple points before we close this. This clearly could have been like a multi-show segment on its own for probably the next month. But, Matt, go ahead. I know we've been cutting you off several times here. So,
well, the only other controversial thing I was going to say is this. If the Dolphins had passed on Tua at number 5, he would not have gone at number 6.
I think that's true.
That's fair.
I don't think that's controversial at all.
Completely fair. No. So, all right, I want to wrap this up,
Jason,
Sammy.
you're
Just
on mute, I think.
No, I can hear him.
You can hear him?
I can't hear him.
Wrap up.
Oh, there he is. No. Okay, there he is. So he must have just been. You can't hear me. So just real quick, Sherry, you said that you want somebody to own the team that loves the team. And here's the problem, and we all know it. That era of owner exists only in a few cities because all the other cities they've sold to the big corporation.
Pittsburgh.
You have the Rooneys. You have the Clarks.
Chicago. And they want them to sell to the corporation. So
I mean, hell, the Chargers. They don't even love their franchise, and the Spanos family has had them for how long? But it's very, very small because the next one that sells is just going to sell to the next huge conglomerate. And my last point on this is to say why Ross really won't care. Throwbacks, no throwbacks. Ticket sales, no ticket sales is. Some agent came out years ago. Sorry, you could probably rattle this off for me. And then a soundbite said, my client has X million dollars of reasons to not to play or something like that. It was something like, it was a soundbite. It says, my client has $12 million reasons to not quit on his team. It was something like that. And here's why. Because this last league year, at the start of the league year, Stephen Ross cashed a check for $400 million. $400 million because of YouTube TV and Amazon and Peacock and everybody else coming into this and paying those big TV contracts. He's still going to get his big ROI. And that's why I don't think he's going to change. And he doesn't care. He's just going to keep running it back. Maybe he doesn't want to deal with who's going to be the next GM, who's going to be the next coach.
And I can say this last thing, too, because this is bugging the crap out of me. It was Joe Robbie Stadium. It should be Joe Robbie Stadium. That should never. They should. That's where I started to get really pissed off. Is when they changed the history of my owner, my team, JRS. That we left the Orange Bowl. Cool. We went to JRS. When it became Land Shark and all these. They're selling the stadium naming rights. I get it because there's money, but that is part of the culture.
It's an identity crisis.
It's
It's
an identity crisis.
an identity crisis.
Absolutely.
When was the last time the Packers had a streak of bad seasons?
They don't.
Can't remember.
But it was before Brett Favre.
Right. So
Lambeau Field.
And it's still Lambeau Field, and it is publicly owned. The team is publicly owned.
Owners care because the owners are the people.
The owners are the people, right? Yep. I think that puts a cap on everything I have to say. Is you're right, Sherry, that there's they don't care. We can go outside and yell at the moon all night long, but the reality is you're more worried about our offensive line than we are. He's not wrong.
And I know what you're saying. He's not wrong, but he should be.
Okay, I'll grant you that. The reality is if this team takes the right players, we're having completely different conversations. It all starts with one specific player.
Well, I think you're right, but we've given a huge part of this whole conversation a pass, and I think that, Sammy, we're going to have a good late January, early February episode on Mike McDaniel, because you can have clearly a locker room full of people with decades of experience, Super Bowl rings, all the talent in the world. Yeah, you get injuries, but every team has injuries. But
Detroit,
the culture in that locker room is set really by one person, and he just said, well, let his GM say that maybe it's up to the players to set that to set the standard. So
Mike McDaniel, that's a whole different topic. We could have another whole show on Mike McDaniel, so we have to do that. So it's been a great conversation. It's been a rough conversation, an intense conversation. So let's have a little fun. Let's have a look back at the year. The year was on Fins TV.
How's it going, buddy?
Hey, welcome to Fins TV. I'm your host, Sammy. Again, Fins Posto next, and as always, my co-host, Steve Allen. Welcome to Fins TV.
Hey, man. Happy Tuesday. Happy holidays to everybody out there.
The Dolphins on their way to stay alive. You know what I mean?
I said that I would eat 5 jalapeno peppers while watching Steve's favorite.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. It's important.
And Steve has been very, very quiet about this because he's dreading. That's why he doesn't want us to sign OBJ. He doesn't want us to watch his favorite soap opera. Which
Don't deflect from the topic, Matt.
I like jalapenos. I just don't like soap operas.
There's not going to be cooked ones with cream cheese in them.
No, they'll be straight jalapenos, buddy.
I'll ship you some of our habaneros we got in our garden.
Jalapenos, not habaneros. I deliberately said jalapenos.
The Dolphins also had guys that had something in common with me playing defensive end. And the commonality was, last weekend, we were both sitting on our couches. So, my team.
Who is Brandon Shore? Brandon Shore is a CPA. He is a tax man. I'm not even kidding. I'm not kidding, folks. He is a certified public accountant. He is an administrative guru.
I don't want to keep him waiting too much for the show. I really appreciate him hanging out with us. I told you 8 to 9.
It's July. What else do I have to do?
Omar Kelly wouldn't get his fat ass off the couch if there was a $7 pizza outside, much less $7 million.
The guy that took out took out Baker. Good luck to him in Denver. Good luck to his teammates. That's all I got.
Good luck to his teammates in Denver. Mando, welcome back to Fins TV.
I appreciate it, Sammy. Anytime, brother.
Thank you for holding on. His debut on Fins TV from Rainy Day Podcast, our friend Adrian Rainey. Adrian, welcome to VCBN. Our friend Jake Mendel and Tiffany Tower Turner.
Let's go! One team, one fight! Finish up, baby!
Special guest Antoine, stated from the New York Daily News. Good evening, Antoine.
Hey, how you doing?
Let me welcome our special guest, the hardest working man on Dolphins Nation, Jason Sarney. Number one, our friend, Jason Sarney.
All this stuff on social media and everything and still get all these picks right.
Y'all know Sarney's cheating.
He's got a time machine, this guy.
What the hell?
Oh, man.
I got bribes out all over the leagues, folks. Bribes are just all over the place.
And Bearded Fanatic. And Bearded Fanatic!
You got to make a run, man. Go take out sweep his leg. I don't know, do something.
Sweep the leg.
They don't give up. They shouldn't bring Chubb back.
Bearded!
Look at this.
Bearded!
The Dolphins are the buzzkill of the party, man.
They're the people who show up at the party when they weren't invited.
As talking about joining the party, what do I welcome her? Bearded Fanatic, Matty, welcome back to Vince TV.
Thank you so much for having me. I got plenty to get off my chest. I appreciate every single one of you. Maybe except Matt, because he doesn't want me to win. I think it started with Matt a few weeks ago when he's like, nah, I just want Adrian to win the whole thing. From that week, you could tell Sammy was like, he went from Bearded Fanatic to, oh, here comes Bearded Fanatic.
It got personal with Nichols. Just have a freaking dump truck of nickels.
Say that clip.
There's a scene in Moneyball where Brad Pitt's character asks David Justice, the David Justice character, about what he wants.
Bradley Chubb. He's easy on the eyes, so come on.
You said it, not me.
No, you said. Oh, you should have heard the shriek across the room the other day when she saw the injury report. Oh my God!
Hey, I mentioned Bradley Chubb once in the last 6 weeks. I've mentioned Taylor Swift 80 times in the last week for you. So let's.
I appreciate it. Tackle? Touche.
If she could, he'd give her a try. He'd let her try to tackle.
What if there's like open listing for a tackling dummy for that?
Oh my God! All right, can we move on now? Let's talk about Texans, Sammy.
Come on, Thor.
Texans, Sammy.
Bradley Chubb could walk in my house right now. I wouldn't even know who he was. Like, I have no idea what the guy looks like. And
If he walks into your house, will you call me, please?
A bet as to whether or not you're gonna be positive, and if you lose me money, Matt, I'm gonna find you. Go.
Can I take side action? Can I take side action for a couple seconds?
Side action.
Or no?
Go.
Sarney's a degenerate gambler. I don't know any team that's ever been knocked out of the playoffs because they were 2-4. They're 2-4.
Oh, yes.
Bad press, it's still good. It's when you're not getting any press at all, which is usually my social media profile, because nobody ever reacts to me except for this time. But what's
you got a lot of reaction this week.
I'm married to the cool guy.
I did. But what's Chris Grier going to say? Is he going to stand up there and say, oh, yeah, I screwed the pooch and I just couldn't deliver in terms of improving the offensive line at all? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love that there's cohesiveness. I love that they can sit around, break bread around the table, hold hands, say grace.
Have to enjoy it as it comes.
I do agree with you.
Embrace the suck.
Yes.
Embrace the suck, yes.
I'm going to just shut up right now.
That's a hell of a time to segue, Sam.
You talk a lot of smack about the Jets because I absolutely hate them. They're the worst so-called professional club on the planet. I despise the Jets. I have friends that are Jets fans, and I don't know. I think I do it out of charity, to be honest. They're nice people, but
that's after all the charity of being my friend. So I appreciate that. Now you've got a lot of charity we can throw out.
Hang on a second. Do y'all see that? I can't believe I just did that.
What'd you do?
I got better looking. Anyways.
Happy birthday, Sharon!
Thanks again. And Matt, happy birthday! As always.
And every time you take your 80th trip around the sun, Matt. Kind. Be kind to people, okay? Make nothing to
Absolutely.
be kind.
Nothing less to be said. As always, when you're talking Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Fins up.
Fins up, yo.
What's up, everyone?
Oh man, we like to have a lot of fun.
That was great.
You can see Matt is the star of the show. He's the model that make us all move over here on Fizz TV. So thank you, Matt, for always taking the grip from especially from Steve and from some of all of us. And of course, Jason, our friend Jason Starney. But I like to call him. I don't remember member of the Fizz TV crew. Jason for joining us. Beauty Fanatic is in the lobby. I know he's busy, but I hope he can join us for the next segment. So many people. Armando Salguero, Jake Bendel's be great with us. Adrian Rainey, our friend, who's in the lobby at the chat, and so many others. So we call them friends. Even though I'm just saying, even though this series is been rough and not intention, it's good to try to be positive. It's good to find a way to laugh at ourselves. So I want to thank you all, especially you the most, for always being there for me, for always being there for the mistakes. Thank you guys, Steve.
No, man, it's great. I know that, and Matt, first of all, I don't appreciate how every time I talk, you disagree with me. You can just disagree with this point, but every time Sherry talks, you're like, great point, Sherry, I agree with you.
Sherry's beautiful.
So,
Oh God! Well, clearly you are
I'm
old and your eyes
beautiful
don't
on the
work,
inside.
but-
You just don't see it. So, no, I really do appreciate, Sammy, you grind at this stuff. I don't know how you have the energy for it. I appreciate what you do. The pre-production, the stuff that we never see, that really puts together what has been a tough. I really had no expectations this season. It met those expectations extremely well. But we've been able to get together every week, have a great time. I forget about the great times until I see that end of your montage. Fantastic. I appreciate you, Jason, Matt. I love you, Sherry. Love you too, over there. So.
Let's go straight to the big finish. To the over 725 in all platforms. Please like and subscribe. Please go to YouTube. Help us out. We need some subscribers on YouTube, so help us out. We're moving very well on X this week and the last couple of weeks. We're probably going to be back the week after the Super Bowl for the Fins TV Awards. Hopefully, our friend Jason Sarney and Beer Fanatic can join us, and we're gonna have probably Armando Salguero and so many others vote on the choices for the Fins TV Awards this year. So let's go for the last week of the season. Let's go to the Fins TV top 5 power rankings. Well, last power ranking of the season, number 5, the Ravens. Number 4, the Eagles. Jalen Harris stood up or going to be a catastrophe. And number 2, the Refs. I mean, the Chiefs. And number 3, after not putting the job under the Broncos. Number 2, the Bills. And number 1, the Detroit Lions. Well, the Lions got hot at the right time. We'll see what the fate holds for the Chiefs or the Bills. I don't want either one of them to represent the AFC, so we'll have to see what happens.
The Lions picked a great time, and Sam Darnold picked the worst time to revert to the New York Jets version of himself. But real quick, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to everybody that's watching us. We've had some consistent people within all of our episodes this year. Kosa, Cap. I know I'm going to be leaving some people off here. I've been watching this chat go absolutely crazy, so it's awesome. But I said it last year. I'll say it again. We do this for fun, but to have everybody tune in, we're just a bunch of schmucks and now a beautiful woman on this cast every week. We appreciate you tuning in and helping us make the podcast a better place.
Thank you. I love you.
If I can second that, I've been watching this thread basically all night. It's the most active it's ever been.
By far.
Ever. And Kosa, if you're going to throw Neil O'Donnell out there as a quarterback that went to the Super Bowl, you can also throw David Woodley of your Miami Dolphins, who went to a Super Bowl. So, that knife cuts both ways, sir. But I second the thing, what Steve just said, because while Steve is rambling, I sit here and watch you guys go back and forth. Adrian comes in with absolute A-bombs of comments, and it's fantastic. Listen, I was invited to be a part of this, and I'm thankful that I was, but this is Sammy's deal, and the fans who are interacting on the chat and with us however they do, it's really, really amazing, and I appreciate you guys so much.
And something in the chat that I saw that I'm going to throw out there because we're going to talk about it in our January episode about McDaniel. Whoever is up in the booth telling him to challenge calls needs to be fired. Because
Yes.
he's not making those on his own. And I don't want to get this all started, but I saw it in the chat. And he doesn't make that call on his own because he can't see the sideline. He can't see any of the crap that he's challenging. Somebody should be losing their job. Because
That was my New Year's resolution.
He better get some new sunglasses, so and some better glasses. For those of you who don't know, we had a pick and lead this year. A lot of personalities, a lot across Fin Station play with us. Well, tonight we're gonna grab a champion. So, Beard, if you're there, please turn on your camera. Please on the
Come on,
microphone
Manny.
for your
Wow.
last week of the year. Here, the pick and league rankings.
There he is.
Well, that's Big League rankings. At number 10, Bobby Finstock. Number 9, Samuel Leaks. Pietro, number 8. At number 7, Sean Stanley Big Show. Sharon, number 6. From the number 5, Steve. At number 4. At number 3, the Fin Trooper. The French is number 2. At number 1,
Or that Adrian came in 8th.
He's our defending.
Manny was a beast.
To the wall to
Manny was a beast this year, man. He was an absolute beast.
Well,
Congratulations.
here's the champion. The floor is yours.
Well, first off, let me start with Steve. Steve said something to you, Sammy, that I was waiting to say myself, because I don't know if you get enough credit for the type of show you put on, and I'm glad Steve said it, because I was going to second or say it before he got it. I was going to say it before he said it, but dude, the production you put up, the graphics you put up, the music you put up, the show you put up, you do an amazing job of hosting a show, and you're second to none with the type of stuff you do. I apologize for the background. I'm actually in Arizona for work, so sorry for being late.
Thank you for joining us.
Sarni is my motivation on why I had to start kicking ass, because he was getting too comfortable in that number 1 spot. I had to go from there, but I'm kidding, obviously. Sarni, it's great to see you, my friend. It's great to see your face. It's great to see you back doing this, because you're great at what you do. And don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Steve, Sherry, Matt, I love all of you, because you guys, as much as you may argue fun-wise with one another, you guys are the life of the show with the way you combat one another. So I look forward to being back on the scene next season and hopefully doing a lot more show with you guys. But yeah, I'm the best, and I'm glad you guys.
Yeah, but so.
Oh man, every year I end up the same way. I tell to Matt, to Steve all the time when Eddie was here with us joining us. Hopefully Eddie's fine and that's okay. I feel a great sense of responsibility to not only to Fin Station, but to Steve, to Sherry, to Matt, to Jason, to you, to everyone who's a guest. I want to make it feel like their time was worth it. Was experience from the low bottom to you see your name, you see you get the recognition you deserve. So everything.
Can I say it like this, Sammy? And I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I want to say you could be a guest on another podcast, and you could feel welcomed. You have made, at least I speak for myself, you have made everybody feel like family when they come on your show, and that's something that you do better than anybody else.
If you don't mind, Manny, I just want to jump in. Sammy, you are the man. Way beyond your skills with the technical stuff, the music. You're one of the best people in this community. And I just personally have to thank you for being just one of the best friends I have. Not just in the football community, you're one of my best friends that I have in life, sir. And I just,
That's awesome.
if more people are like you, then we're doing something right in this world. Thank
Right.
you, Sammy.
And to top that off, for those who know who are close enough, for me, it was just a really off year. Won't get into the specifics. Sammy would check in with me every single fucking week. And I'm sorry for cursing, but it deserves it because, like Jason said, there is not a lot of people like you. So from my heart, I greatly appreciate you being there for me every single week because like that, I was able to get better every single week.
I want to make sure the world knows that Manny swears more than I do on this.
Hey, we have one F-bomb and we've hit our limit. We've got to keep it PG-13 unless, Matt, you want to just change that right now?
Well, we can't go on Disney Plus with more than one. So if that's our goal ever, then we're done here. I just want to say something too. Yeah, no, it's all good. Fuck that. So
Hey.
I love Sammy. Sammy, I'm so glad you and I started talking over a decade ago because that opened the door for Steve and I to be involved with you and with this. And you and I have been chatting on, well, it was the X Twitter, but you and I have been chatting for a long time, and we talk to each other through some trying times in our lives too. So I'm gonna hear for what everyone else said, and I'm so glad that that door stayed open, and now Steve is part of this big happy family too. And Matt, we've got you. This is just, I look around this group, and there's not a lot of great things in the world right now, but this is definitely one of the good things, I will tell you.
One of my favorite things is years ago, Steve, probably 10, 12 years ago now, you will remember that Sammy said that you and I should have a podcast.
Yep.
We should have a podcast.
Yep.
And I thought that was great because now it's a manifestation of what we used to throw back and forth at each other on Twitter. And never, ever did I dream that we would be doing this. When I learned that Sammy had a podcast, I thought, that's awesome. That guy is a huge Miami Dolphins fan. I'll have to check it out. But the reality is now I understand that Sammy built this for me and Steve because now he can
he did it.
He manifested it his own.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, absolutely. This is his doing. He's the mastermind.
I feel like that Scooby-Doo ending. Like we take the mask off. Ah, there you are.
I dropped one bomb and now everybody's cursing. I love the trend.
Whatever. Look, you opened the door. We're just walking through it.
It's over 10 p.m. here in San Juan, Puerto Rico, so it's late night over here, so we can curse. Guys, I want to start with Sherry. Sherry, again, we know each other for a long time. Since I even remember your last name before. That's how long I know you. So I appreciate your friendship. Of course, Steve is a great friend. I cannot be happier you guys found each other because I could not see a more perfect couple. Man, you bring joy to my life every time with your positivity. Because if not for you, I don't know what I would do. I would probably be up the ledge, man. So thank you for. I know I can say, okay, I'm gonna go with the worst attitude today. The end of the positivity is today, and I turn and Matt is here. No, it's not gonna be. It's gonna be positive because Matt is here. Of course, Manny, you're great. I appreciate you, my brother. You're talented. You're smart. You're a great Dolphin fan. You deserve all the best. I get hints of what your life is and what you've done in your life. I appreciate it, and you deserve everything for what I know. And if that's what I know, I can only imagine all the good you do for others. So thank you, man. I appreciate your friendship. Hopefully, like you said, we can join each other every single week or every other week next year. And of course, my friend, my brother, Jason Sarney. Jason, I call him the hardest working man in Dolphins Nation. And I don't think he likes it, but I cannot stop myself from saying it. I don't think he likes me calling him that, but it's true. He writes. He's so smart with the details, with the stats, and he's someone deserves the recognition and the bigger platform that even Fins TV can bring in is Jason Sarney. So for him to make an appearance every time he can, for me, it's an honor. I cannot. I could not imagine we'll be such great friends. I care about you, my brother. You deserve. You have a beautiful family. You're a great guy. You're a great person. One of the best persons I know in the whole world. So
For sure.
for me to come here, a friend, that you're a friend of mine, so many miles away, I cannot express with words. With even if I can speak fluent English, the show will be so great. But my second language, I try my best. Guys, this is Vince TV. This is what we do every single week. Adrian Rainey, who was in the chat, so many other, Jake Mendel, like I said, who take time to house, who retweeted us, and hopefully he'll be with us eventually on Vince TV. So many others that help us, spread the word across. Like I said, Vince TV is a lot better to the Dolphins, the Dolphins station, and I know every single fan who loves the Dolphins like we do know what we deserve. We deserve better. We deserve a championship. We deserve to celebrate with each other. But for now, take care for each other. Love each other. Don't bash each other. It's going to trying times in the world on Dolphin Station. Like when I quote it, that's my word. It's a clusterfuck right now. So please be gentle. So without further ado, as always, thank you guys. And as always, the longest Fins TV episode ever, where you say Miami, you're always talking Super Bowl.
Fins up.
Fins up, y'all.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks for watching Fins TV. Please like and subscribe. See you next week. Fins up.